you might want to check our spam. The emails go out to a lot of email accounts, so it's possible that your IT system may mark us as spam. We're friendly spam people, though. We're sending you things that we hope you want, and you always can reply. When you don't want to get any more webinar notices from us. But we will send this recording out and all of them here this week as we round out Remote Learning Month. Thanks for those introductions. Keep them coming. Again, if you want a chance to win a door prize, please engage in our chat and also on social media, hashtag MinecraftEDU. I know Stephen also has hashtag Minecraft Mondays. We also have hashtag remote learning or hashtag distance learning. As you learn something today, share it out with your broader networks and help get them inspired for Minecraft education. We're so thrilled to have our presenter this week giving an entire week of sessions through multiplayer to help all of you out step by step, become confident with teaching with Minecraft education. So Stephen, I'll have you just give a brief intro and then I'll do some housekeeping for everyone to set up their computers and get going with you. But welcome, Stephen. Thanks for joining us. We're so stoked to have you for an entire week.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Thank you. Everybody can hear me, right? Check, check.
Sounds
check.
Perfect.
Great.
See you, hear you.
Excellent. So not only can you see me, right, but this will be the first stream I've ever done with my lava lamp.
Whoa!
I have wanted a lava lamp since the 1980s and I wasn't allowed one. And now I'm in my 40s, I have one.
Wait, so wait, you have to put a link of where you purchased one now, because that's not even like the original like triangular one that I had in the 80s. That is a new school lava lamp. Tell us where you got it, Stephen.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the bizarre thing, Wendy. My mum never let me have one in the 80s. Guess where I found this? In my mum's garage.
Stop it.
So she had one. I just wasn't allowed one. So anyway, she probably worried that I was going to like burst it all over the floor or something. But anyway, I feel so great. It's just sitting over there and I know it's there and it's fab. Anyway, listen, that's neither here nor there tonight. Thank you so much for allowing me the space to talk about this. Multiplayer is something that I've used globally in Minecraft, and I just feel so passionately about that connectivity that our product can allow for children, that I think the more people we can help to kind of make that happen and see the benefits of it and facilitate them, I think is really, really important. My history is 20 years using technology to engage students, relevant, meaningful curriculum and pedagogy around the world. I've been very blessed to work in over 70 countries, and I started using games and games-based learning in 2005 to teach. Slightly earlier, but 2005 was when I officially sort of said to schools, we could use games. And I'm talking things like Command and Conquer Red Alert and the original Tomb Raider and Little Big Planet, Papo and Yo, you name it, we've used it. 140 games worldwide. Minecraft, of course, is the crowning jewel of, thank you very much, Luke. The Minecraft is the crowning jewel of games-based learning. It really is. It's that one single game that allows us to do all of the things we want to do with all of the other games. And that is create for ourselves. It's competitive, it's collaborative, and it's creative, the three magic C's. And so I fell in love with Minecraft 11 years ago, and here I am now. And in that time, I've spent so much of my time building lessons and helping teachers and students around the world. Many in the community will already know me. Luke's already saying, join Stephen on Play Matters. It's great. So thank you so much for that. I do a live stream. But tonight, I want to take you through, this whole week is going to be dedicated to what is Minecraft? How does it work? How can we get it to work? And then we're all going to play together. We're going to try and we got some accounts that we can put out to some people, and we're going to kind of play around with that and see if we can get people into test. But
awesome.
Sorry, Wendy, carry on.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Stephen. I was just going to get some technical goodies rolling before you head on, and then we'll let you take away the show. Sure. But just a quick reminder, everybody, I think a lot of you, I saw this is your second or third workshop. So if you began with us, we started with our remote learning roundtable, right? And we talked about what are some of the challenges that all of you are facing as you enter remote learning with lesson planning and assessment and social emotional learning, right? So that kicked us off. And then we joined our New York City amazing mentors, our folks from Broward County for our first workshop, where all all of you got a chance to understand solo assignments, right? And that was where you could share a link with Teams or any learning management system that you might have to let them build and then turn it back into you as a really easy entry point. Last week, we also joined our amazing folks in Brisbane, Australia, who talked to us about building and passing. What does it look like when you start to add that collaboration? Again, this was one singular file, one world that one student was in and passing it along, right? So all of you got super comfy with that. And then you can see here on our graphic that now Stephen's got this amazing star by him here. And we were going to be practicing what happens when you host a world. And as Susie mentioned in the chat, right, as long as you all have the same version of Minecraft and you can be on different devices and you can now join and have that magic that Ann Skernick was telling us last week, right? You can do all of the same great lesson planning that we talked about the last 2 weeks. And now you have the magical element of everyone real time building together, which is all the magic that Stephen's going to walk us through this week. At the end of this week, we'll send you all of those, plus a chance to get your remote learning with Minecraft badge and certificate, and a chance to connect with one of our mentors one-on-one. So as you are ready to start practicing this, we'll have a sign-up form where you can request somebody like Anne or even Luke, who's in the chat maybe, or some of our amazing mentors that are on the call today to connect with you, to help you out. So that's the context of the last month. As Stephen mentioned, we're going to take it nice and slow this week. So he's going to walk us through what is multiplayer today, right? Then Tuesday, the technical pieces, right? Because there are some things you'll need to get ready to go. Then what do we do with it? What does a lesson plan look like? And asking all those great questions of Stephen and some of our mentors on the call. Thursday, I'm so excited for this one. Stephen is going to be all esports, and like he promised, we were going to try to get us in there playing with each other to get that magic. Oops, and there's not 2 Thursdays. There's actually a Friday involved. That sometimes feels like a Thursday last 2 times. But we'll end on Friday with collaborative world building, where you start making these amazing creations together. So that's what our week looks like, everybody. And then you can just see here how we are moving conceptually along with getting to this multiplayer spot of remote learning with Minecraft. With that, everybody, I did want to say a huge thanks and hello to, we have Kyle and Adam on our support team in the chat, ready to help and support you. Most of you, if this is your second or third workshop, you should already have the latest edition of Minecraft Education Edition downloaded. Susie is also on the call from our customer engagement team, dropping in some knowledge and wisdom along the way today. You might want to make sure, if not today during the call, but maybe before tomorrow, that you update, and you might want to download and get the latest edition so that you have all the latest features of Minecraft Education Edition. While Stephen's showing you today and you're walking through and trying things out, you can make sure you have it open, and you can also have Stephen open in his own box too. So you kind of have your setup that you're following us along, and that you also can see and hear us as well. And then, of course, we want you to be able to get support, right? Because this workshop's going to keep rolling pretty quickly because we only have the hour. So Kyle's going to drop in this link here, and this makes a ticket for Kyle and Adam. And if you put the word workshop on it, they are right away going to help solve your do their best to solve your problem, get you sorted. And if it means that you might have to stop and watch the rest of this recording later, that's okay. We want to make sure that you get the questions you need answered, and it can be kind of hard in the chat. So feel free to use the chat, but if you really have a technical issue you want to work with, go ahead and make that ticket open. Susie, since you're on the call, did you want to say a quick hello to everybody too? Susie's our amazing customer engagement manager, works with so many of you to get your entire schools hooked up and working with Minecraft. Wanted to give a quick hello and any of your top tips for using multiplayer before we get rolling today?
Oh, thanks, Wendy. Hey, everyone. I'm Susie. I'll be hanging out in the chat, helping out with some questions with the rest of the support team. But yeah, I'm really excited to hear from Stephen. Tons of multiplayer wisdom to be had throughout this week. So yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks, Susie. I feel like, Stephen, we might need to get you a wizard wisdom, like a robe or something. That might need to come up in our swag for sure. But with that, everyone.
7:26:38.
So
7:26:38. Whoops, gave him 2 years there.
we'll be here, and don't worry, Stephen, we'll make sure we get folks muted up. We're gonna now fade into the background now and let Stephen take over and focus on today's topic, which is what is multiplayer. So take it away, Stephen. Huge thanks again for being here with us today, and I'm excited to join this journey with you.
Not at all. Thank you so much for hosting and introducing. It was amazing. Now, I see that I've also got hello to everyone in the chat. I've also got some of my I have a kind of a regular community that we build, and Team Unicorn is in. Also, Defluna Lovegood is with me, which I love. And so we've just got so many people that are just like, hey, and I recognize that name. So thanks for coming in. And for those who haven't met me before, this is the beginning. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you. And there's a number of things I want to start with, one of which is, and I know for many of you, you don't need me to start with what is Minecraft, but in order for me to go through this whole week of what's possible and why multiplayer matters, I want to start with, let's break it down to the very beginning of what Minecraft ultimately is. So I'm going to share my screen and just go straight into, Minecraft. Let me know when you can all see Minecraft.
Perfect. Looks great, Stephen.
Excellent.
Oh,
okay,
you got to tell us about that skin. What's the story behind the skin there?
That's you want to see my skin?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my Play Matters skin, and this is the little. It's basically you can see the joystick and the 4 buttons. It's an arcade machine, and then the face is the screen with Pac-Man. But then I have a whole set of them. Look. We've got Commodore 64 load screen, summer games. We got.
Oh man, next level.
Look.
Love it.
You go on the other side. It's an arcade machine, right? Look, there's a racing game. I've even got Lemmings. Look, Lemmings on the Amiga. I'm an arcade guy. I grew up with the arcades. So anyway, high score. Anyway, we can choose. In fact, you know what? See, for this one, let's just choose a different screen. Let's have the Commodore 64 load screen. Confirm. There we go. So now we've got a different skin. Now, to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just playing Minecraft and setting up a single player world. So we're just going to go into new, then we're going to go into new world and click new on there. And we must, and again, if I'm saying things that you already know, it's just because it's habit, because I'm always trying to create best practice with teachers. But first of all, always name your worlds. Never leave them as default, because they will always name as new world, and then you lose them later, especially now that we now have a search. You can use a search bar for searching for worlds. So I'm just going to call this one multiplayer test 1. Okay, now we're not actually testing multiplayer. I'm going to make it creative. I'm going to leave it for peaceful because, and let me talk you through why and how I create these worlds and why. It's going to be creative because I want to create a lesson. I'm not running a lesson in survival mode like, you know, whether it was the Border Reivers of Scotland or the Vikings or the Romans or something like that, where I needed my students to be survival. I'm going to create peaceful because I don't need any mobs distracting me at this moment or creepers accidentally blowing up my stuff. I'm also going to make it a flat world. Now we're going to come back to permission levels because this is about students joining my world. But right now, all I'm doing is what is Minecraft at its most basic capacity. We're not talking big worlds or here's what's possible, just ultimately, what are we dealing with as a classroom tool in its basic form? So I'm going to leave it flat. And the reason I'm going to leave it flat is this is one of our magic worlds. People often dismiss the flat world and they think, oh, you know, I don't need the flat world. I want worlds with trees and jungle and rivers and caves. And it's like, actually, as a teacher, very often you just want a flat world. And I'll explain why in a moment. Then what we're going to do is we're going to click on let's forget show coordinates. I'm just doing the very basics. Always day. I don't need it to be nighttime at any moment after this. And then I'm going to go show classroom settings and I'm going to do perfect weather. Everything else remains the same. So let's just go back over that. Always name your world. Creative because I'm creating. Peaceful because I don't want monsters. Flat. I'll tell you why in a moment. Always day and no rain. If only we had a button that did that in Scotland and Seattle and other parts of the world, but definitely in Scotland. And when I click play, we now have the perfect modeling world for not just demoing Minecraft and something like this, but we also for helping children. This is what I call my canvas world. This is where we can do demos like this. And it's just a big, flat, wide open canvas. Many of you will have seen this before. Some of you might be for the first time going, oh, that's just there's nothing in that. Now, if you're really worried about kids getting distracted during a task, they'll find a distraction in a pig. Trust me. They will love a distraction in a pig. And so to do little demos like that, even I, hey, little guy, see, even I get distracted. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press escape, go to settings, and I can go down to classroom settings and switch that off. Allow mobs, negative. Oh, I also have to switch off I've got some of my accessibility settings switched on. Enable text to speech for chat. There we are. I was doing a demo on accessibility earlier. And so what we now have is what I call my canvas world. Nothing to distract, just a big flat world where my children can start to do things. Now, what we're ultimately looking at as Minecraft is a sketch pad. People often say to me, oh, Minecraft's this big elaborate computer game. Well, it kind of is, but at its most basic, it's a sketch pad. It's a big collaborative 3D whiteboard is what it is. And to show you what I mean by that, if I go to inventory and I collect wool, I'm just going to do this in oops, shift, there we go, there. Here we go. I'm going to collect wool. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to do some basic mathematics and counting systems. Now, this is important when it comes to multiplayer, so stay with me. But if I do 1, 2, 3, I'm always leaving a gap on purpose, 5. So just by the keyboard and the mouse or the touchscreen device or the controller that you're using, because I have a controller here, and if I press the controller, you'll see that now all of a sudden in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see I've switched to USB controller, just an Xbox controller. But if I switch back to keyboard and mouse, is that not disappeared? There we are. If I move my mouse, it disappears. And so we can switch between depending on which student prefers to use which, and I'll talk about those controls in a second. But ultimately, we started to build something by placing a single block in a 3D space. Now that's 5 blocks. What if over here we did this? And then said, what is 5 plus 2? So with very, very early children, we can get them doing these very, very early maths. So it's like a sketch pad. People often say to me, no, you have to build these big castles and you have to build these big art galleries and you have to build. You don't at all. What if we did this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then what percentage of that row is yellow? So now we're doing, again, very basic mathematics, but just at the click of a button, I drew a line. That's all I did. And then I changed one of them. We can also do a second, and we're doing very basic maths. In this case, we're doing percentage. Let's do that, and then ask the same question. We can differentiate, so we can start to differentiate really basic stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, but we're going to make that one yellow. It's the same sum. We know it's the same sum, but the children don't necessarily. And so just by being able to appreciate the drawing capability of Minecraft, the idea that every time we place something, it's like an ink droplet. And every time we take it away, it's like an eraser. That's it. So what we could do is we could draw something. With just knowing what it is we're trying to draw, knowing what it is we're trying to do, we can draw anything. And then that's just 2D. All I've done so far is 2D apart from this one. What if we did 3D? And then 3D becomes this really nice exercise of saying, well, what if I did that? Plan, elevation, not quite, but you get the idea, and then side elevation. But what if I did that? Now we've got a very different plan, elevation, side elevation. The plan's the same, but the side elevation and the elevation isn't. And so at its very basic, let's just add this. Now we've got a very different model, plan, elevation, side elevation. But what if we did that one? And so on. And before you know it, give your kids some graph paper and get them to use Minecraft with graph paper. And you have this elaborate sketching, 2D and 3D, isometric and technical sketching sketchpad. And you have a nice big, and then of course what you do is you turn that into a house, or you turn it into a DNA double helix, or you turn it into a dragon, or you turn it into a castle, or a human heart, or the human eye, and on and on and on. And so the ability to be able to create with Minecraft at its most basic level is the power of that tool. Now think about doing that. I'm just doing this as a demo to you. What if we did this in pairs? What if we had children reading the Gruffalo? One of them reads while the other one moves through the world, through a forest. And when they get to a clearing in the forest, just in time to, because if they're reading, we're monitoring how well they read, how many words they read, how quickly they read. They should get to an area in a clearing in the woods where they build the snake or the fox or the owl, and then eventually the gruffalo, and they can interact with the world as they read in the real world, and so on. What if we got them to go into a painting, and then when they see what they see in Minecraft, they get a real canvas and they get real paint and they paint what they see on the screen. So then we're teaching them art techniques by giving them invitations to P.A. Mondrian worlds where they can go into paintings, or the Tate Modern or something like that. Sounds elaborate, but actually it's that transference of the visual to the practical. And that's what I'm always trying to do. So I wanted to start with that, because when we come to multiplayer, things like this are important. How do we get children to do maths together? How do we get them to write together? How do we get them to design worlds together? How do we get them to think, critically evaluate, peer assess, self-assess? How do we get them to do those things together in a Minecraft world? And that's where multiplayer comes in. Now, in this particular world, there's a number of ways to access multiplayer. And the first is the idea that you would press this button up here. You press escape in any world, and then you press this little, it kind of says it, it's a little icon with 4 kids in it, and you click on it and you can start hosting. Click confirm. And then you get this join code. And then if anyone else happened to be logged in on the same tenant as me, and we're going to talk about the technicalities as we go through this week, but if you were signed in as the same tenant, you would be able to join that world in there. Wendy, I don't know if you are you signed in on Microsoft?
Yeah.
Let's
Shall
do
I
it.
join you?
That
All
is your
right.
join code. So your join code is water bucket, llama, water bucket, pickaxe. Now I'm going to show you shortly what Wendy was seeing, and how Wendy was able to access. There's also some information down here on IP addresses and ports. I will talk to you about that later as well.
I love it. Stephen, while I'm loading that up, I love that you started with the point of Minecraft. I'm wondering in the chat if folks are having a think about, we talked about this in our last 2 weeks, but in the chat, if you want to drop everyone, what is the world that you might have everybody join? Would you want them to do maths like Stephen's showing? Does anyone have thoughts? Any tips for when they're just starting to think about what they might teach for their first multiplayer lesson, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean that would be fab. I mean, I think if anybody's got any thoughts or any feelings on what you would like to do with that, I can then sort of say, pop that in there, and I can say, actually, this is a great example of that, or I saw this in a school in Austria, or and I can kind of help you through that. So please do, and actually make that a point as we're working through this entire week. But personally, today, let's have you just feel free to comment, because I'd love to get back to the text afterwards and go through that. So
thanks, Stephen, and I have joined you, and thanks everyone in the chat. I'm seeing Rachel's interested in programming, and Mike's looking at algebra. We got D Mackin is on Mars. So this is wonderful, everyone. If you plan on hanging out with us all week long, drop in the chat, are you planning on hanging out with us all week long? And if so, just like you did with Anne and the last 2 weeks of our workshops, maybe even open up a OneNote or a document where you can start to just plan for this, right? Just as you might be teaching a Wakelet or a Flipgrid lesson, right? Just start putting down your thoughts and questions. And like Stephen said, even after the call today, we're here, the mentors are here to kind of help you shape this multiplayer as it comes to life. But that's kind of my MO for when I'm lesson planning, is kind of starting to sketch it out. And I'm also a post-it analog person. I might even have post-its on my desk right now where I'm starting to dream what that algebra lesson might actually look like with multiplayer. So keep those coming, hanging all week long, Melissa. Oh my gosh, Stephen, we got all week longers. We might need a prize. We might need a prize for anyone who makes it every single day this week. Maybe they get your lava lamp, Stephen. Just kidding.
Maybe.
We'll find something for our all weekers.
Yeah.
Look at all these. Oh my
goodness,
the longest hanger-oners. Stephen, watch out. Okay.
So I'm going to show you a maths world actually that we use multiplayer. I'm going to show you that, and we can go through that. Throughout the week. There's also, we're going to show you some coding. I'm going to get back to the world in just a second. Becky Keane, I noticed, commented that the International Space Station worlds that are available on the Minecraft library are perfect for multiplayer, and we'll explore some of that if we can. And also someone suggested that they were looking for bays and headlands or landforms. There's so much stuff in there that I'm actually already, oh, someone said refugee world. I want to build a refugee map. I can show you one, and I can show you exactly what we've done and where the children have different roles, including journalism throughout that refugee process. And they're all in the same world at the same time, experiencing the same things from a different perspective. So that makes it fascinating as well. But anyway, let's get back to the world for the moment. So Wendy's with me. So as you can see what's happened now, and we're going to go into depth in this in the week to come, but as you can see already, I've got Wendy in. But notice the difference between us at the moment. I have a crown, Wendy has a star, and we're going to come back to where I decide on how that works. But hi, Wendy. Would you like, shall I send you a nice skin that you can wear next time you're in with me? I'll do that.
Yes, please. Give me an outfit before I come. Outfit
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down there and I'm going to do something. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to ask you, Wendy, to go down there and create, just use a coloured wool of any kind and give me a puzzle. Ask me a percentage question on this row that I've made over here.
Coming over. All right.
And then just give me a puzzle, just give me a percentage of puzzle. Then I'm going to make another thing for us to do. And I know these are very basic. There's probably secondary school teachers on there going, come on, give me a geography example. I'm going to show you a Pompeii model later on in the week as well. Oh, so we've got 3. Bearing in mind, I'm going to tell you this right now, Wendy, my maths is disgraceful. So go easy on me. So we got, is this 3 plus 2?
I'm going easy, buddy.
3 plus 2. So I tell you what, let's just get into the habit of saying, because we could do divided by, or well, that would be really difficult. Well, I say really difficult, it would be for me. We could do minus, we could even do times. So we'll get into the habit of sort of saying what the math of what. So let's make it times, right? 3 times 2 is, and then in purple, I will give you the answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How's that?
Woo,
and we could do
job.
it equals and whatever, but we could do that. We could give each other a puzzle. Here's one to do. Drop down beside me, Wendy, and I'll do another puzzle. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get yellow wool. I'm going to do that. Then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to ask you, Wendy, if you're standing here where I am, if you're standing right over here, you're going to need to get yourself some purple and some yellow wool. This is your line of symmetry. So now we're doing symmetry together. So this is your line of symmetry, the middle, right down the line of that block. And I want you to finish this as a symmetrical pattern.
Ooh.
Do you understand where I'm going with that?
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yay.
She's got it. Or has she? Because we're doing symmetry now. I thought I was going easy on her.
Oh my gosh. Oh, there we go. Okay, Mr. Reid, how am I doing?
You're doing okay, although I think you're doing tessellation rather than
You're right, I am.
symmetry.
I'm repeating it. You're right.
You're repeating, but that's okay. Let's imagine it was tessellation. Do tessellation. And then what I'll do is down here, I'll recreate the symmetry version. So we can look at both models. But the idea, you get the idea, is that we can set tasks for each other. So in a multiplayer environment, we can set tasks and we can kind of say, look, to our peers, this is a puzzle. This is what I want you to do. Create mini games for each other. Now, there's an amazing coding at the end of the week. I'm going to show you a game that you can code with your children in a few minutes, and you can challenge them to that game. And it's multiplayer mini game in Minecraft using code.
I love it. Thank
So
you,
I've
Crystal,
done,
for your empathy. She's right. It is hard in the spotlight. A couple. I
I
wonder
put
if we
you
could take
right
a
on the
quick
spot.
pause because we showed some awesome things. We showed one thing. You saw two. You saw me join, right? And you saw me plop in. Saw me fly. You saw Stephen as the teacher kind of instructing me to do things. We had a few questions pop up, Stephen. I'm wondering if we could take a moment. Oh my gosh, Amanda, there's so much empathy for me in my pattern building. Thank you, Amanda.
You were doing
too.
patterning. I got it. I
Thanks,
saw what you were doing.
Melissa. So there, if you have any questions so far, right? Remember, today's just part one, so we're not going to get into a ton of the technicals, but
No.
conceptually, does this make sense? How I've joined Stephen. What questions do you have? I did see some things about, does everybody notice how Stephen and I are playing on Teams, right? Like we are able to talk with each other over it. So there was a question about how you set this up in Teams. I know Wednesday when we talk about what does this look like, right? We'll dive into lesson planning and actually leading a lesson there. But any thoughts around using Teams with it at this kind of beginner point that you want to share, Stephen, or other tools that you see students using when they are using multiplayer to communicate with each other?
Yeah, and also I'll just add on to that while we're waiting on that coming in, that the Teams question is fantastic. We just finished a big esports league in South Africa, and the entire thing was run using Minecraft and Teams, the whole thing, including the live streaming that went out, and it was all done in Teams. Now, Crystal has just said, any news on breakout rooms for Teams? We don't have any news on this call about that, but it's on its way, and that is going to make that's going to be all the difference. You can have your children in breakout rooms that are named after the teams. Let them make their own names up. I mean, down in South Africa, they were called like the Diamond Pirates and stuff like that, and then they had all of their little names in they had Teams channels, but we can have breakout rooms as well. The esports is going to be fab, Sawyer.
I love it. I'm seeing some of our mentors in the call too join, share some of their thoughts, such as screen sharing a join code, right? Like when Stephen put that on, I opened my Minecraft and put bucket llama bucket pickaxe. But there's all sorts of ways you might be able to get folks to join that. Any other thoughts around how you tell students to join your join code, Stephen?
Yeah, so quite often I'll take a snip, and I know I'm sharing my screen and I do it the old way, and Becky Keane's going to roll her eyes at me, but I take the snipping tool and then I capture that and I just take the join code as a snip. I don't know, you can see that, right? And I just take it as a snip, and then I just literally click the copy button and I paste it into Teams. Done. Or I type it in chat. I also, one of the things I like to do is make a little song, and I'm not going to do that because I'll embarrass myself. But I do make a little song, and sometimes I'll do, like water lab, because sometimes you get a really nice flow. So you'll do like water llama, water pick, water llama, water pick. And then we make a little song, and then the kids remember it because the kids are like, water llama, water
That's
pick.
exactly what was in my head when I joined too.
That's it. And then when the kids get kicked out later on, and they say, water llama, water pick, will this join code ever stick? And then the kids are like, ha, 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 and then they remember it. It's like next time they leave or they get kicked out for whatever reason, and then they come back in, they're like, water llama, water pick. And then they go, yes, sir, this join code did stick. And then they kind of come back at me with it, and they love it. And so I make little songs up with the join codes. Now, something I want to say to you is, if I now click on this refresh button, while Wendy's in, let me go back to the game. If I click on that and it says making a new join code will not stop your multiplayer game. That's important. Your new code, however, will be used to invite additional players. What I use this for, and this is a nice little security measure that I use, a lot of people don't think about it that way, but once I know that my children are in, and I don't want to run the risk of another child perhaps on the same tenant but in the next door science class or whatever joining and going, oh, I've just found a world. But now they would need to know the join code, but you may or may not find that the join code spreads verbally or, So what I do is I just click it and I click confirm, and your children will not see this, but it's now .. sign agent. Now, what you'll notice is my join code is now .. sign agent, but we're okay. Wendy's still in.
We made it. We made it
we
through.
Made it. So
Made
we're
it through the
fine.
change.
But my join code is different. So any other kids will, you know, like if another kid does, hey, I'm in Mr. Reid's class and he's doing a thing and the join code is carrot. Now I'm not suggesting kids do that. And I actually, in the years that I've been doing this, I haven't had an issue, but just in case, it's like, actually, it's locked. Alternatively, you might remove a child. You might say, as part of a behavioral practice, you might say, I'm actually removing you from this world and you can come back in 5 minutes. And they go, I'm coming back in now. And I say, oh, you're not. I just water, apple, potion. And it's just like, and the kids will never see that because they don't see your screen. They just know what you told them the join code was. And so they can't get back in. And it's a behavioral thing. Now, I did see a question come in saying, can children connect if they're in remote locations? Well, Wendy and I are doing that right now. I'm in Scotland and Wendy's in Seattle. And you are in Seattle, right?
Portland.
You're in Portland. Oh, yeah, big difference, right? Okay, so you're in Portland, and so we're thousands of miles apart, and we are able to join together because we're on the same tenant. And my internet, and this is where I'm going to go as the week progresses. Tomorrow is actually all about, and yet so close, is. As we go further through the week, I'm going to go into the technicalities of that. We need set things on our routers. We need to open things called ports, and we just need to make sure that Wendy has access to my router. Wendy's allowed to join my router safely, securely through through an agreed port, and all firewalled up and whatnot.
So what you all could do this week, since a lot of you are planning to hang out with us all week, and Stephen and I are slowly rolling this out for you to not overwhelm some of you, but it might be great to maybe have your students download. So perhaps by the end of the week, you could maybe practice and see if you can't set up the technical setup that Stephen's going to go through later in the week. So a step one this week would be great to just make sure your students have it all downloaded and ready to go, so that when that llama comes calling their way, they might be ready to test this with you. And I did see too, Stephen, I've got some fun notes here about Chris. Thanks for sharing Teams channels. We'll look at that on Wednesday too. Maybe we can show a good setup of how you might group your students, right? Maybe Stephen and I have our own Teams channel, and then maybe Susie and Adam on our team are in a different Teams channel, and we have different assignments to do our math problems here in this shared world. But how nice that even if Teams Breakout isn't open yet, we could possibly just still make our own call together. Or I think Richard shared Discord as well. So there's all sorts of mix and match that you can do as a teacher to run this lesson. And our goal this week is to kind of highlight all of them for you so you can practice and play and see what that looks like.
Yeah. So let me take you to the next section, which is, you saw me hosting and Wendy joining, but I want to show you how. And Wendy, you've been kicked, right? You're out.
Wah, wah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save and exit this world, and I'm going to show you what a student would have done. And so what a student would do is they would be back on the main menu and they would click play and they would go join world. It's the same symbol, but this time it's join. I've hosted from inside. Now, one thing I want to show you before we do that is if I go to view my worlds and I go to multiplayer test or any of the other ones, I can go multiplayer test, and instead of play, I can click host. And when it does it for me automatically. I did it secondary when I went in last time. Now we automatically are hosting rather than going in and to this symbol and doing the join. Either way, oh, look at that, agent rail lamb. That's we're character heavy, this one, but we're going to stop there. Okay, and so I'm going to go back to there and save and exit that game. Let me show you what a student would do. So a student would click from the main menu, they would go play, join world, and then they put in the join code. So we had that last one, which was agent rail panda, llama panda. So we can just clear llama panda. So they would put that in and click confirm. Now you're going to say the join code you entered does not match any worlds. Try again. So why don't we do, Wendy, could you set up a world and just host that for me?
Yeah, sure thing.
Please.
Give me one sec.
So now Wendy's going to do what I did originally, and I'm going to show you joining a world. It does any world, any sort of new world or what. And then I'm going to show you that maths world, and I'm going to take Wendy on a tour of a maths world and kind of show her one of the, just a sort of a more, we went from the basics, but now we can go to a more elaborate maths world and say, look, now we've got you in, we're going to do, in fact, I'll take you to a narrative driven maths world, which allows which allows Wendy to do one puzzle while I'm doing another that's already preset, and we'll go from there.
Great. So I'm just now opening my world, and I'm going to go just like, and I'll actually drop it in, and you guys won't be able to join because you're not in the same tenant, but I am going to drop it just to show out if I was a teacher and I wanted to drop this in my Teams to my whole class. I'll go ahead and drop in our join code to Stephen right now, but only Stephen's going to join me. There we go. So while Stephen does that, everybody, just a quick think, right? Like as you're starting to logistically plan, remember I said pull open a document and start to plan. Think of how many students you have. So if everyone wants to drop in the chat right now, how many students do you teach? Do you teach 20, 25, 30? Do you teach per class, right? So if you're middle school or high school, you might have 30 per class. Drop that in. So Susie brought up a good point. So we've got some, if you're under 30, you could do all of your whole class in there. If you've got 44 or Raquel has 32, you'll hit the limitations of the current multiplayer. So you will want to think about maybe you just set up a team leader and they join small groups. We'll talk about that on Wednesday when we do some lesson planning. But again, just to have it in mind now, think, what if I were teaching a multiplayer lesson tomorrow with my 44 students? What would I do? So now's a really great time to think about that.
Yeah.
So now
I'm just about to join. And I do want to say something about that, managing the way you sort of like pedagogically, how do you manage that system of multiplayer allocation? And I'll talk about that in a second. But Steve, Rail, Book, Cookie, how I wish I owned a Wookiee. I'm just saying. I would never forget that. And you'll see that this time it says, is this the world you were trying to join? Back to School, hosted by Wendy G. Yes, that's the one. And when we drop in there, it'll say connecting to multiplayer game. Now, bearing in mind, oh, there we go. I need to download a resource pack. Now, occasionally you'll be asked to do that. What that means is the world that Wendy is playing has a few extras in it that I don't have. Just a couple of things, like maybe a different texture or a different NPC. So I'm going to click on 1.6. I don't know what this world is, but it's going to join 1.1 in the end. And then it'll locate the server. And again, provided that Wendy has her multiplayer enabled and so on, which she does, here we are. So I'm in the world where there's a teacher and Wendy and so on. Blocks of redstone. Yo. And here's the thing.
You can see there, guys, that Stephen, do you want to show if they were multiplayer, how they would, we talked a bit about whether or not you want to have your kids talk with their voice in a game, right? And you'd have to use Teams or you'd have to use Discord, like Richard mentioned in the chat. But again, you don't have to have that. Obviously, it's fun, and when you talk to most of your students, this is what they do when they go play Bedrock or Java at home. It's because it's so much fun to just talk over the phone as you're playing. But they also don't have to, right? You can use the chat functionality. Did you want to share that, how you pulled that up and said hi to me?
Yes. So I'll do that. Hang on, I just want to throw a snowball at Boris Browser, because I was that kid. I wasn't actually, I really wasn't. So yeah, what we do is we press the T key, just T, and that brings up this chat bar down at the bottom, and I can say, hi Wendy. Please miss, can I go to the toilet? Because I was that kid. I actually was. Teacher. So anyway, I can do that. But one of the other things I wanted to talk about was, since we're in here, and these are just little extras that I think it's worth knowing, is that let's imagine I am a French student and I've entered a world with English signs. So use appropriate websites. I will visit only educational websites. When I am in class, I will focus on the lessons. And I'm not sure about that, because English is not, it's kind of a second language for me, but I'm by no means proficient at it. Or I'm a Syrian child, I'm a refugee, I've arrived in Britain and I've been put in a school. And they're doing Minecraft, which is amazing, but the lessons are in English. So what I can do is I can walk up to any sign that has text on it and I can press I. And that opens up the immersive reader, and you can see that if we click in the text preferences at the top, I can change the text size to smaller or larger. I'm going to have it large. We can increase or decrease the spacing. Again, many of you who are Microsoft fans will be familiar with this, but I want to show it in its glory built in, because as a multiplayer function, this is really important for those cross-language projects. We have children working with, I have Danish children working with Polish children, working with Scottish children, and they do all of this stuff. Scottish is a real language, by the way, I'm just saying. And so we can change the color, for example, and we can and do that with that. I'm going to leave it back on white for the moment. What we can also do is we can go in and we can say, look, I just want verbs and I just want syllables. And that will help this particular child or whatever. And then the other thing we can do is we can change the language. So I'm going to say, look, I'm a Danish kid. And I want to change that to Danish, and then I can press play. Who knew? Now, I don't know if you can hear that. I'm not sure you can hear my screen. Did I do that?
No. We couldn't hear it.
Okay, I'm gonna, sorry, I'll just, I'll change that because I can just share and reshare. I think it's important just to be able to show you what the power of that if you haven't seen it. So let me just stop sharing and then reshare with that little sound button, which I wish was default, but anyway. And then we'll go back into the immersive reader and you'll see I can then go back into the language. I can change the entire document and then press play.
Du kan bygge videre på denne platform. Byg noget, der fortæller os lidt om dig selv.
Can you hear that? Did you hear it that time? Possibly. Have I lost everyone? Oh, no, I can't hear you.
We hear you. We see you.
Oh, good. Okay, and I'm good. I was like, oh no, I've done something. And did you hear the Danish?
Yeah, we did. Perfect.
So
Thank you.
and that's getting bigger and better all the time. So as a multiplayer bonus, you don't have to worry about all of your children in English, or all of your children having a certain level of a grasp of English, because it's like, even if they speak English, their first language is English, but they're actually behind in their peers in that reading capacity, they can go to the signs and they can take their time and they can use immersive reader, and you can do it in the NPCs. So I can click on this little button in the bottom right and you can go in there and open up the NPCs, and the kids can then do their line spacing and then they can press play.
Hello.
Super cool.
It's always hard starting a new class and getting to know people.
Right, there we go.
Awesome.
So we can do that.
So I wonder, Stephen, real quick, I'll stop for a moment since you just we showed you hosting it, and then you showed you joining one as a student. I want to make sure everyone had any questions before we move on, because we've got about 10 minutes left for today to wrap up level 1, which is just what is multiplayer. But any questions about how your students might use that join code, what Stephen just demoed, let us know in the chat. Yeah. I love it. Chris dropped in some fun team building exercises.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's have a look. Team building. Oh, absolutely. There's so much. For some reason, my comments aren't showing now. Oh yeah, being able to use immersive reader on the NPCs is brilliant. Absolutely, it's genuinely a game changer. In fact, I was working on a thing today with the Hans Christian Andersen museum, and they're looking at using it, but they want it to be in multiple languages to make Hans Christian Andersen's work. But through Minecraft, and I'm like, oh, don't. And they were like, but we're going to have to make multiple versions with multiple languages. And I said, actually, you don't. We can do this in one world with immersive reader. And they were just like, oh, that's amazing. So they're going to love that. Now,
and thing with what we worked on the last 2 weeks with some of our newer players is just understanding the MC World file and how that works. In this case, since we're all right now, I just shared my classroom with you. Do you want to just talk through what might happen at the end of the session, and then what might you ask students to do at the end of it? If you, let's say you had all 29 of your students in there with you, how might you round out a multiplayer session here, both technically what you would do and then what you might do on the teacher end to wrap things up?
Yeah, so there's one more thing I want to show at the end. So don't let me forget to show permissions, because I just want to show that.
Show it now. And then if you want to wrap up with the saving.
And with the wrapping up part. Yeah. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save and exit out of this world. Now, in terms of wrapping up, the fact that I saved and exited doesn't mean to say that the world is finished, because now Wendy has been left in that world, and as Wendy being the host, Wendy is in control of the final save of that world. So when it says saving and exiting, it means you as a player, not the host. So don't worry about that. It's not like I saved and exited and everyone else got kicked out. The only time everyone gets kicked out is when the host of the world disappears. One of the other things I wanted to say back to one of the points that was made about the pedagogical kind of makeup of this, like, do I be the host as a teacher, and do I make everybody join me? Or we've done this in so many different ways. We've done it in small groups. We've done it in pairs where one child is the host and the other child joins them. Groups of 3 where one is the host and 2 joins them. We split them into tables and we say, look, you're all sitting in tables of 6. One of you is the host, the other 5 join. So there's so many different ways you can do it. The teacher hosts, and then 5 children at a time join. So you can do it that way where you're like, okay, table 1, you're going to join me. This is your join code. And we're going to do a little exercise. And then you're going to come out of that exercise. You're going to come out of Minecraft. You're going to go back and keep writing your diary of Howard Carter. And then table 2, you're going to join me and I'm going to give you a separate join code. And then you can manage small groups coming in at like at separate times. And then at the end, you can say, now, none of you on each table knows what the other table did. But what we're now going to do is we're all going to join me and we're going to share that collective world. And then all tables join and they all get to see what the other tables did in that world. And it's almost like that piece by piece. It's lovely. And you just hosted the whole thing. You just did it in increments. So it was really nice. So there's lots and lots and lots of ways we can manage that. And we can sort of talk of that going forward. But what I do want to show you is if I host a world, and I'm just going to host multiplayer test 1 again. I'm going to go host. And then I am going to, no, actually, sorry. Yes, settings. I'm going to go into settings and down here, and you can do this when you start a world to begin with. Remember, I skipped over permission level for students who join your world. There are different levels. So visitor is the lowest. It's actually the highest. I wish it went the other way, but it's actually that. Well, maybe we could talk about that in Microsoft, but you start with visitor, and I suppose it does kind of make sense that way, but it's actually the lowest permission level. So visitors can freely explore your world, but cannot interact with blocks, items, or entities. Trust players is off. Now, what that means is, and I'm going to just show what that looks like by getting Wendy back in as a visitor. But what I can do is that can move around the world, but they can't knock anything down. So you might have a demo world showing them what plant and animal cells look like, but you don't want them knocking down signs, and you don't want them, ripping a hole in the floor or changing the color of anything. So just make them a visitor, and that almost becomes your museum world, if you like. Not the most fun for kids, but they can press buttons which make things happen, and they can pull levers. They just can't destroy anything. Members, that's the most common. Members are active players in your world who can break and create blocks, attack mobs and other players, although your settings can sort of differentiate from that because there are settings that take some of that away separately. And then operator. Operators are members who can set player permission and use commands to have more control. Basically, that's you. You're able to do things. You're able to put in /WB to change your mode or make it nighttime or make it daytime. Whereas Wendy wouldn't be allowed to do that in my world as either a visitor or a member. So I'm going to click on visitor, and then I'm just going to go back. And what that means is next time Wendy joins, sorry. So this is, oh, look at this. It's Llama, Panda, Llama, Steve. I can't think of anything for
Llama
that.
Steve.
Llama, Panda, Llama, Steve. Join my world, we'll duck and weave through the blocks. Beep, beep, beep. We've got to think of something, right? So let's see if you're, does it tell you it's the right world? There you are. So you're back with me. So Wendy's now back with me. But Wendy, I want you to destroy the blocks on the floor. Just make a hole in the floor.
Coming. Almost done.
It says you joined, but I know that you're, yeah, there you are. You're looking around. So place a block. Oh, you can. Why is that? Oh, I know why. It's because you're Microsoft. Okay. Students would not be able to. Let me just test this. Ah, no, it's because you're still in as the member you were last time. Sorry. New players. So sorry, you're a visitor now. So try it now.
Ding.
Yeah. You can see there that it's just bing, 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 bing. It makes this horrible sort of metallic noise. I can put a purple one down there. You destroy it for me. You can. And so Wendy is now, if I just go in here, you can change this here as well and say, actually, I want Wendy to be a visitor, or remove Wendy altogether. But actually, if I make Wendy an operator, and I'm just going to do operator, Wendy, what I want you now to do is make the command for nighttime. Do you know how to do that? So that is T and then /, and I'll just put it on my screen. Time, set, night. Time, space, set, space, night with a /. If you can do that for me, then you will be able to turn it to nighttime. There we are. And so Wendy's now made it nighttime because she's an operator. So she has command control of the world. Now you want to be very careful about how you do that because, and I actually, it's not that you don't want to trust children to do that. Children, it's been proved in communities like Otcraft, for example, which I'm going to talk about tomorrow, but you can use that for giving children permission and giving them levels of trust and helping them to understand that their role in this world and their position within the class is valued. And if I give you this, I need you to do these things for me. And they're like, yeah. And they do it. And they actually love that. Understandably, and there will always be behavior issues where, some kids just can't take that responsibility, and you can just make them members or you can make them visitors and so on. But that's really nice for you to do that. Now, in answer to your question, and in the interest of just summing up now, I have generally a few things that I do when I come out of the world. I'm now the host. So what I'm going to say to Wendy is, Wendy, I want you to make sure that you are back where we started in order to finish. And by back where we started, we're just going to make this the red cross over here. And I'm actually going to set that to set world spawn. And you can head over there, and I want all students, and I'm just going to make this daytime again, time set 6,000. I always do time set 6,000 because that puts the sun directly above you and brightens the world up as much as possible. So colors are great. So Wendy's back where she started, and we're going to, and then once all my students are back there, this is what we call spawn, and you might build a little box back in the toy box, and everybody goes back in the toy box or whatever. And then what you can do is you can then say, okay, I am going to end the world there. So I want you to make sure that you've got everything that you needed. Everything is with you, and you are happy with the way you left things, and just give them time, because quite often you get this thing called just one more block. It's a syndrome. I've got it. Everybody's got it. Please, Minecraft. Just one more block. Just one more block. And so I never, ever, just a good practice is to never end a multiplayer game just like that. You never go, right, guys, we're done. Back to spawn. It's over. Just say, listen, guys, give them a countdown. Everyone in the class, we have 6 minutes. We have 5 minutes. We have 4 minutes. Whatever you think you can build. I need you to place your last 10 blocks and back to spawn. We're done. And it just gives them that really nice, any kid of any kind will be like, thank you for giving me that chance to finish that. Because then it gives them a chance to prioritize. I was going to do the ramparts, but instead I'll do the stairs because I know I can do the stairs and that's important for tomorrow. They prioritize, give them that thing. And then once they're all back at spawn, I actually just stop hosting. I just say we're going to stop hosting in 3, 2, 1, stop. And
that's nice to give them a little countdown. Those are all amazing tips from the wizard, Stephen. We really appreciate it. We're at time, folks, but I hope you saw from me that you could just literally just play and test, and you might have seen some things like the operator, things like time setting and things like that. Any questions that you have from today, write those down, put them in chat right now, and Stephen and I will hang out, as well as our support team, helping you out. But check out my screen. We're not over yet. Isn't that nice that this isn't the last you get of Stephen? Today was high level. We demoed for you hosting a world, joining a world. That's it, right? So any questions that cropped up from that, hopefully you started to frame in your mind, what lesson would I teach multiplayer? And then the setup of that, how am I actually going to do that? All my kids in 1, groups of kids in 5. So you have a think, that's your homework. Your homework as well is just download and maybe just make sure you have a world, and maybe see if you can just press that host button and see if it works for you, right? You're not going to have anyone join just yet. Tomorrow, Stephen's going to walk us through what does that actually mean, right? Technically, he talked about tenants and making sure we're remotely. What are all those steps? So we're going to start right there tomorrow.
And we're going to join that maths world together, and we're going to kind of follow a narrative story just a little, just to show you that once we've done all that technical hard work, the rewards can be so great. you know.
And then Wednesday, we'll stop and do some of the pedagogy. Becky was sharing in there too about Jigsaw. That's where we'll start to piece it together once you know. And then Thursday, esports. We'll get as many. Maybe we can do some groups. Maybe we'll try some Jigsaw. We'll see what we can get done. And then Friday, building worlds together. But huge thank you to Stephen. Huge thank you to our support team and our mentors on the call today too, like Mike and Becky and Richard, and a lot of folks here just dropping some good knowledge in the chat as well. I do have 2 door prizes. One goes to our Twitter folks sharing some fun screenshots and wonderings and aha moments in Twitter. And our winner from Twitter is going to be the lovely, the amazing, it looks like we've got Dr. Melissa Walker as our winner today from Twitter. And then we'll pick our random chat winner. And this is just by scrolling through. Blind scroll, blind stop is going to be none other than
Me.
you. Stephen gets another lava lamp. No, our chat winner is going to be, there they are. Oh goodness, 1, 2, and 3. Ivana, who says we have interesting homework. You do.
Yes, you
Isn't
do.
that nice? It's the kind of homework you want to have. So Ivana, and also Melissa, please email, and I'll drop it in, mcedu@microsoft.com for your prize redemption. If you're super sad because you didn't win, don't worry. There is 4 more days of Stephen's multiplayer magic. So thank you, Stephen. Any last final words? Looking forward to seeing you same place tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Tomorrow was more technical, but once we get through that, trust me, you can see the rewards are fantastic. Also, follow me on Twitter, Stephen. I'm just popping it in the chat there. So at Stephen Reid EDU, and just reach out anytime. We are together with the Minecraft Education Edition team. I'm on a slightly different team in Microsoft, but together we are happy to help you with anything you need to make sure that our product does what it needs to do in your classrooms. I will see you tomorrow.
Have a good night, Stephen. Get some rest. We'll see you guys same time tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Great to have you. Adam's dropped the recording in as well. We will send all of these recordings in one big final email tomorrow. But like Adam said, if you just subscribe to that remote learning playlist, you'll actually get it without me having to email you. So that's your best route, because we'll upload those probably tonight so you can catch Stephen and slow down and maybe walk through and redo things as he shows stuff on the camera. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night and day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.